Hi there, welcome to a new video series on complex analysis. In the upcoming videos, we're going to consider a variety of different topics related to complex analysis. We're going to show what complex functions are, we're going to show how to map between different complex planes, we're going to show how we transform these different variables, the different types of transformations that you get, we're going to show how to differentiate complex functions, and a variety of theorems associated with it. We're going to show how to integrate. We're going to show how to transform. And lastly, we're going to consider different series expansions of complex functions. The Taylor series, Maclaurin series, and also the Laurent series. We're going to show if these different series converge. And the final thing is what are residues and the residue theorem. So this is quite a lot of information. However, the focus of this video is just going to be a simple introduction to what is complex analysis and how we transform between different variables. So before all that, what is the purpose of studying all of this? What is the value of knowing complex analysis? So when we say complex analysis, we're talking about functions with complex variables. And we know complex contain imaginary numbers. The word complex is associated with the square root of -1. So we're talking about functions that have these complex variables in them. What is the value of studying all of this information? Well, we can solve a huge range of problems in physics engineering knowing complex analysis. An example of this could be in fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics is something that many different types of engineers need to know about, be it chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, and so on. So in fluid mechanics, we often considering the airflow around different shapes, right? So airflow. And we can have many complex shapes, difficult shapes. We can have, for example, the wing of an aeroplane. We could have process equipment in which they are shaped very oddly. So how does complex analysis help us here? Well, we can take those complex shapes and simplify it into much simpler shapes like a circle. So in here, we can take difficult shapes and we can actually convert them into simple shapes like a circle. So we saw in the different topics, the word transformation was used, mapping may have been used as well. So this talks to all of that. So let's move on into the introduction to this particular field of study and how we go about using it. So we know from our studies of calculus and basic mathematics what complex variables are. People use the symbol I or J, and usually it means the square root of -1. So in the study of complex numbers, we would usually represent a complex number by z, and we would say z is equal to x plus jy. If we are representing complex numbers into the plane, we would call it the z-plane, and there would be a real part associated with x and a complex part which would be y. So we would just plot it. We would have x and y, and we would plot a point. And that point would be the real component, that's x, and the imaginary component, y. So we say that we are plotting it in the z-plane. A simple example of this could be z is equal to 2 plus j. So the real part is the x value 2, and the imaginary part is 1. That's what y is equal to. So now we have a complex variable, that's z, made up of complex numbers, j, and these variables x and y. So where complex analysis comes in is when we start considering functions of z. So in the same way that we can have y is a function of x, we can now have functions of z. And instead of calling it y, what many people do is that they call it w. So we say w is now a function of z. And it could be, for example, z plus 2 or z squared or something like that. So there is a relationship between z and there's some input z and there's some output, some function of z, and z is made up of complex numbers. So in the same way that we split z into a real part and an imaginary part, we can now take this function that we have created, w, and split it into functions of z. So we said that w is equal to fz, so we'll just use z squared as an example. So we'll say w is equal to z squared. So we can substitute in the variable z. So z we know is x plus jy, and now we're squaring it. So if we do that, we get x squared, then we have plus 2jxy, and then minus y squared. Remember that the square root of j is minus 1, so we have the square root of minus 1 squared, and that will give us minus 1. That's why we have minus y squared here. J squared is minus 1. So now we can group this together. We'll say x squared, then minus y squared, plus 2jxy. So we can now split this into a real part and an imaginary part. So this x squared minus y squared, that will be our real part. So we can call that u. We'll say that u is some function of x and y. Now this imaginary part, that's 2xy. So 2xy, that's our imaginary. And we'll call that v. Say that v is a function of x and y. So this is our transformation equation. That's what we mean by a transformation function or transformation equation. This is how we go about transforming this variable z into a function of z. And the example used was z squared. So we can write w, the function of z, as being u plus jv. So how would we actually do a transformation? It's simple and straightforward. We would just apply this transformation equation. So if we have some variable z, which is equal to something like, maybe the example earlier we used was 2 plus j. So we have our z-plane associated with this. So there's our z-plane. And we have our point. We have x is equal to 2. There's x and y is equal to 1. We'll call that point P, okay? So what is our transformation? Our transformation now is into a function of z, and that function is w. So we're no longer talking about the z-plane, we're talking about the w-plane. So that's the w-plane. So in the same way, z was imaginary with y and real with x, with xy, and now w is with u and v. So we have u and v on these axes. So this point z, 2 plus j, has a corresponding point in the w plane, and the relationship between them is u and v. So you remember that u was equal to x squared minus y squared that we had shown on the top here. So x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 1. So we have 2 squared, which is 4, minus 1, which is equal to 3. And we remember that v was equal to 2xy. So this is equal to 2 times x, which is 2, times 1, which is just 4. So this w is equal to u plus jv. So what w is equal to is 3, that's the real part, plus jv, and v is equal to 4. So we have 3 plus j4. So to plot it in the w plane, we would simply identify 3 and 4. So it might be here, for example. So this p is P prime in the W plane. So we have transformed P into P prime. So that transformation between these two planes, the Z plane to the W plane, is what they call a mapping. So we would say the terminology is we have mapped P onto P prime. So P prime is also called the image of P. So just to summarize once more everything that we have just done, we are now talking about functions with complex variables. We would associate a complex variable z to have a real part and an imaginary part, and we now transform this z variable into a function of z. So we call that w. W is a function of z, and we use the example of z squared. And then we used the definition of z, and we created an expression for the function of z in terms of x and y. We then lumped these expressions into a real part and an imaginary part. So we said this transformation equation w now consists of a real part u and an imaginary part v. And we simply showed that we can take a simple example, complex value of z, and how we project that into the new plane. And going from the z plane to the w plane is a mapping. So thank you very much for watching. In the next video, we will show how we transform entire lines, entire functions of z into w.